old-fashioned view of marriage. In her early 30s, she remarked, "There's nothing worse than to fence a man in and stop him from doing what he wants." Philip was aghast when a royal maid even joined them on honeymoon. For a sailor used to traveling light and looking after himself, many aspects of life as a royal came as an unpleasant shock to Prince Philip. The first problem surfaced on his otherwise blissful honeymoon in Scotland, and her name was MOV01224. As Princess Elizabeth's devoted maid of many years, she'd automatically accompanied them. What Philip hadn't expected, though, was to find her at his bride's side at all times of the day and night, even when the princess used the bathroom. Not surprisingly, this irritated him. He resented not being able to be alone with his wife whenever he wanted. The princess, however, genuinely couldn't understand what the fuss was about. She was used to being constantly surrounded by staff and often ignored their presence. The battle over Bova would never be quite resolved. Like many female retainers who have devoted their lives to royal service, she always faintly resented the presence of her mistress's husband. Philip, in turn, would try to keep her firmly in her place. He believed Bovo's role was to open the curtains each morning and let the dogs in, nothing more. Eventually, prince and maid came to an amicable, non-verbal agreement to keep out of each other's way. As for the Queen, she viewed Bovo, who served her for 67 years, as a friend and a crucial link with her childhood, as Bovo had been her nanny. Not only was Philip unable to escape the maid on his honeymoon, but he was forced to live with his in-laws at Buckingham Palace for the first year of his marriage, while Clarence House was being refurbished at a cost of £50,000 for him and his bride. Princess Elizabeth was already well aware that it would be difficult for a man so used to doing what he wanted to be tied to a suite of rooms in a huge, old-fashioned palace, where everything was subject to endless protocol. She also knew that he found many of the courtiers pompous and ridiculously stuck in their ways. "Life at court was very frustrating for him at first," said the late Lord Brabourne, whose wife, Patricia Mountbatten, was Philip's cousin. "It was very stuffy. Tommy Lascelles, private secretary to the king, was impossible. They were bloody to him. They patronised him. They treated him as an outsider. It wasn't much fun. He laughed it off, of course, but it must have hurt. I'm not sure Princess Elizabeth noticed it. She probably didn't see it. In a way, marriage hardly changed her life. She was able to carry on much as before. In getting married, she didn't sacrifice anything. His life changed completely. He gave up everything." Back in 1947, courtiers and senior members of the household wielded great influence, often making important decisions over a few large whiskies or a rubber of bridge. Unobtrusively powerful, they never admitted to mistakes, never complained about one another, never resigned, and were never proved wrong. The straight-talking prince who once described himself as a cosmopolitan European didn't fit into this world one little bit. And the palace old guard found him abrasive and rude. His cousin, Lady Pamela Hicks, recalled, "He knew he was going into the lion's den. He was very conscious of the way he'd been treated and how hard he would have to fight for his position and his independence against the establishment. What he didn't know was just how fearsome it was going to be." For the first few months of married life, Philip was given a desk job at the Admiralty, which did little to improve his mood. "I was just a dog's body, shuffling ships around," is how he described it. Later, he was posted to a residential staff course at the Royal Naval College in Greenwich, a welcome respite from the palace, if not his wife. He also became patron to several organizations, and joined Princess Elizabeth on official visits and tours. No matter how busy he was, Philip found time to have fun with his old friend Mike Parker as part of the Thursday Club, a group of men who had weekly meetings in a private room at Wheeler's Fish Restaurant in Soho. The club was started by photographer Baron Nahum, and there was usually 10 to 15 people at each gathering. Members included actors David Niven, James Robertson Justice, and Peter Ustinov, the poet John Benjamin, and Ian MacLeod, later Chancellor of the Exchequer. Princess Elizabeth referred to this motley crew as Philip's funny friends.